Peace, and great rising. How are you all? I said great rising. You could tell I do most of mine in the morning. um, However, we're going to say the right time frame. Good evening or afternoon. That's the right one. How y'all doing? I do apologize for the tardiness. Um, when I say my computer decided it wanted to reboot when it was time for me to come live. Ashe. So we are grateful to be here today to bring forth our overstanding of this here assignment, in which today we're talking about symbols and our living language. Okay. Give me 1 second. Like I said, I had to reboot everything, or the computer rebooted everything. So I have to reset up. Give me 1 second. However, we're going to talk about how sacred geometry, which is symbolization, plays such a huge role in our spiritual growth and development. Okay. Give me 1 second. All righty. So let's get back to it. Today we're talking about teachings of symbols as a living language. A lot of times we decorate our households, we decorate our walls, we wear jewelry, and they all have some form of a symbol. Just about every business and organization that we know of has what we call logos. And the majority of our logos symbolize something, right? And why is it so important that we have these symbols around us? What purpose do they really serve, that we have to identify an image of self, business, purpose? Hold on 1 minute. Hold on 1 second. I hear echo. Okay. So what part of self are we? What part of self are we echoing far as the activation of our daily existence? Today, we're going to actually discuss the constructive or activation coding of our DNA through symbolizations. And somebody asked me earlier, like, what you mean by that? I'm not saying that these symbols are going to give you instantaneously superpowers. No, what I'm saying is that through these symbols, though, you can utilize the power of the intent behind those symbols to help magnify what it is that you truly desire. Okay. We're going to come from a psychological, spiritual, and a essence of existence in our overstanding today, in our lessons today. Okay. And by the time I finish, I will that we all have clarity and understanding on how to utilize these perceptions of symbols to help open up, clear out, and align our chakras. Okay. So let's start back with just a little bit of insight of a historical or history of perception. Okay. When these symbols are perceptions of what it is that we allow to absorb into our existence. It brings forth an energy of vibration. It brings forth recognition, brings forth patterns, right? And these patterns are all identifying an intuitive connection, okay? Once again, before there was even a language that we knew patterns. We knew symbols. We understood that patterns could still bring a vibration, because I could put a certain symbol up and it would activate an awareness within your conscious, and then you respond, react, or receive or project the vibration that you receive from that symbol. Right. Prime example, on the back of a lot of our products, we have chemical symbols. And these symbols usually have like this line going through it in the inside of the circle. And once we see this symbol, we instantaneously know that this is something that's going to be hazardous, dangerous. And it instantly gives a code within the DNA to stay away from, right? It signals a message. It signals a message within the brain, right? That interprets the patterns before we even understand exactly what the situation may be. Like I say, back of alcohol, 100% alcohol, rubbing alcohol. They say, do not drink this alcohol. Why? Because it absorbs, it's dangerous, especially for the lungs, right? And the other organs within the body. So you don't want to drink this. So therefore they will put a warning label of do not drink this. That vibration, before you even partake of taking a sip or indulging in the alcohol, that symbol itself gives directions to the subconscious mind. It's a subconscious architectural understanding of what is your reality within the moment. So once again, these vibrations, even though may not be moving, they're still sending a movement of direction into the awareness. Okay, it's bypassing the subconscious mind and going directly into the subconscious of the architectural reality. Okay, so let's understand this a little bit more clearly, right? What am I trying to really say to you all? I'm trying to say that symbols are not something that you just look at. It is something that's looking back at you. There's dialogue, there's communication that's coming back from what you have accepted or once again rejected into your reality. The psychological power of symbols is a shortcut into the subconscious mind of awareness. This is where you are looking at the image, and the image has already been structured with the intentions to draw you in for your awareness and better understanding. I hope I'm making some sense to somebody. The flower, we're not going to jump there. So when we are dealing with this energy that is shaping and repeating vibrations of coding, we are receptors receiving that knowledge and that understanding. Like I say, you don't have to tell me certain symbols. If I drew a symbol of a heart, you wouldn't have to tell me what the heart symbolized. You wouldn't have to tell me the vibration of the feeling of the heart. If the heart is completely whole, then it is symbolizing love, abundance, joy, happiness, peace, unity, unification, right? But if the heart was to happen to have a line going through it, I'm just breaking this down for someone understanding. When the heart is split into pieces, it brings a certain vibration. Like I said, this is not sound. This is not a verbal communication. This is you overstanding the symbolization, because your DNA has already been downloaded the intuitive interpretation of what that symbol represents and symbolizes. Like I say, these symbols are not necessarily moving in motion, yet it is still penetrating a vibration of movement, or a vibration of energy, because it's bringing forth a memory within the DNA. Okay. And over time, the symbols can be anchored into belief systems. This is how come churches have the cross, Kemet have the Ankh. You have the 5-point star, you have the 6-point star, you have sacred geometry, you have the flower of life, you have Matrion's cube, you have the Ankh, you know what I'm saying? We have the Sir Yantra. These all are activating messages of coherence into the brain, into the DNA, right? So this is why we as spiritual beings always have symbols of sacred geometry somewhere within our homes and our rooms, because it's a vibration that's going to constantly echo through the room, right? People put crosses on their walls because they believe that the cross is going to constantly remind them to stay in a certain alignment, so they will always be convicted whenever they see the certain symbol, right? Well, when we start talking about tapping into sacred geometry and the complexity of the connection, we're talking about higher order of cognition. Okay, we're talking about aligning ourselves so that we may be able to learn how to psychologically shortcut the brain into exact activation, exact moment of shaping, molding, reprogramming a cognitive moment. I believe that's the best way I can put it. Once again, the mind does not process every detail of reality. It compresses information into recognizable forms. You hear what I'm saying? The mind does not process every detail. It just compresses the information to recognizing form. Because once again, as I'm always teaching you all, we are made of 81% of water. So the water in our body already holds memory. And we understand this through sound and frequency, that certain frequencies will bring a form about a certain sacred geometry of existence within the DNA, which brings forth the memory of activation. Okay, I'm doing my best to try to stay on focus, because this is a deep subject that a lot of people take for granted, and we're always feeling like we're stuck in something, not realizing that the keys to your eternal happiness, to the kingdom, are always around you. You just have to become more aware and attuned that it's there. This is how come our ancestors, Ashe, let me stop and take a moment, because me rushing did not acknowledge our ancestors. Pouring libations. Elaine Talley, Ashe. Dorothy Talley, Ashe. Fred Wilson, Ashe. John Welch, Ashe. To all my ancestors known and unknown, Ashe. All right, so coming back, to the assignment. Now that we have ushered our ancestors into this, may we gain more clarity and understanding. Ashe, ashe. Okay, so let's break some things down. Let's get into this. I think I gave enough of an introduction and understanding, and we are on a time schedule, so therefore I want to make sure I get the important things to you that's necessary. Okay, that's necessary. Okay. So we're going to start first with this. Hold on one second. Gigi, I need you to quiet down, please. Thank you. That's my grandbaby, y'all. She gonna get loud again. Get ready for it. All right. So let's start with the Ankh and the cross. Okay. Let's begin there. I want to bring clarity and understanding to the symbolizations that are most common to us at this moment, which is the actual Ankh and the cross. Okay. So, one of the things that we understand is that there was and there has always been a combination of these two symbols that we are definitely aware of. The Ankh is complete. The cross is incomplete. What do we mean by that? Come on, we talk about symbolizations and how they've been echoed and downloaded through our DNA, right? The hoop, which represents feminine energy, has been removed from the cross, right? The balance is broken. The meaning is changed. See how simple symbols can bring forth a different concept of our knowing and awareness, right? So I'm not going to go into a lot of the details that you see before you on your screen, but I will point out the main points of why we have this particular podcast today. Because once again, two different symbols, but two different messages, which brings about two different paths, right? Knowing the origin and understanding the transformation, reclaiming truth. That is the whole concept of us having a podcast. Not just because I'm trying to make myself known or famous, but because I'm showing you the keys to the kingdom. The name of the podcast is SacredKeyz4U. We want to bring balance back to where it's supposed to be, and understanding that our symbols play an ultimate part of what? Representing balance within self. Okay. Symbols do not lie. The power does rewrite. Okay. So what do we mean by that? Well, let's take a look. In our ancient Kemetic philosophy and science, we originated the symbol with a hoop. That hoop represented the womb, the feminine portal to eternal life. Not just representing the woman, it represents a energy. Remember, I started off talking about how symbols are being downloaded within our DNA as to why we decorate our rooms with these particular images, because once again, they represent something. Okay. The crossbar, which is a horizontal line. This is a meeting place union of opposites. Okay, a union of duality, your negative, and once again, we talk about energy, your negative and your positive energy, which once again represents your feminine and your masculine energy. So there's a union. You see the symbol. There's a union that comes between the hoop, right? And that vertical line that we know of is considered to be a masculine. Okay, the backbone. See how they made the woman a backbone, but here the man is the woman's what? Backbone, the connection between heaven and earth. Okay, we're talking about the vertical line, which is a masculine line. So the hoop in the vertical line, which is considered in ancient Kemet the phallus, represents both masculine and feminine what? Combination meaning intertwining into one of balance of negative and positive energy. So the Ankh itself is a life force energy. It brings forth balance, union of feminine and masculine, creation, continuity, immortality, harmony. Harmony, balance. That is what the symbol of the Ankh represents. Now let's talk about what is the cross. The cross was once again adopted by Christianity, a symbol of sacrifice and power. This is how come when people say, oh, I'm blessed, or I had a blessed day, not realizing the etymology of blessed means to have a blood sacrifice. And people look at me when I say this as if I'm crazy, right? But they're not realizing that the cross was adopted, okay? Meaning that something was sacrificed, okay, in order to gain its power. Let's talk about it. Let's break down the science of the symbolizations of the cross. The absence of the loop, the removal of the feminine energy. The womb is eliminated. Okay. The womb has been taken away from, eliminated from the balance of creation. The crossbar, right, which is once again that horizontal line, the earth realm, but now without its union. Now it doesn't have its union. It's not whole, because why? The feminine energy is not there. Now you just have masculine dominance, the vertical line, authority, power over control. What it represents is sacrifice, suffering, atonement, death before life, obedience, hierarchy, redemption. How bad we want to be redeemed through mission. So the balance of free will and free harmony, a flow of energy. We're not talking about male and female. We're talking about components of energy and vibration that's been absorbed through a transformation. And what you transforming into is the symbol in which you are holding intent to. The intentions of the symbol is going to what? Transform into the DNA. Okay. Once again, the symbol of the cross represents sacrifice and dominance. I'm so blessed. That is what a blessing is. It represents a blood sacrifice. And who is being sacrificed between the two images as they are correlating, relating to each other, is the feminine energy. Come on. The cross teaches death before fire and submission before freedom. Okay. Let's try another symbol real quick, because we got enough time. We surely do. What other symbol can we break down real quick for activation of overstanding, why symbols are so vitally important to understand and overstand. When I say overstand why you are engaging in this particular energy and why certain things are vibrating into your existence, is because you are constantly being coded, activated by that which is surrounding your environment. Okay. This is what these symbols symbolize and are activating. Okay. Once again, codes within our DNA. GG. Okay. So let's start here. Do I want to start there? No, I don't want to start there. Let's see here. Hold on, y'all. GG. I need you to quiet down some, please. Okay. I forgot to upload. Let me see if I can upload the symbol real quick because I really want y'all to get the illustration of these activations. Okay. I really want you to understand what these symbols mean. So when you hear a lot of conscious individuals waking up and they're talking about doing the work with symbols, I want you to understand exactly what that means and how it works. You get what I'm saying? How does these symbols actually activate? And how do you utilize these symbols? Okay, give me 1 second. I found it. Let me upload it real quick. Gigi! My baby in there having a ball by herself. You hear me? You would think it was 50 kids in here. All right, where am I? Download. Okay. Once again, I'm usually a little bit more prepared than this. My computer decided to reboot right before it was time for me to come live. So y'all bear with me, okay? Let me pull this up real quick. And for those that's watching it, look, I do apologize if I yelled in your ear. All right. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the blueprint of creation. Okay, the blueprint of creation. The patterns of unity. This is one of our sacred geometry, ancient symbols. Okay. And when I say ancient symbol, because this is a highly intense activation of a symbol, if you will, if I could sum it up in those areas, in that way. This particular symbol, it contains the patterns of all life. It is the key to remembering who you are on a universal connection, dealing with harmony and balance. It's the eternal pattern. So when you're wearing this symbol, when you have this symbol sitting on your wall, you'll start to find out just how the brain recognizes, how the brain patterns network together. You have a sequence of patterns that are looping and intertwining consistently into itself, into the pattern that we call the life symbol, right? This particular symbol and activation in which I'm teaching at the SacredKeyz University is the candle method. If you get a candle and you have this symbol and you take it and you sit it on the opposite side of where you're sitting and you stare into the shadow of the candle, and then you look back at the symbol and you look back at the candle, you're going to send so much coding into your DNA. A soft gaze at the center of your eye begins to relax. It doesn't strain. This shifts into a more meditative state. So now you just practicing looking at this particular symbol, this pattern of unity is going to actually bring forth peace. It brings forth calmness. It enhances the connection. It supports focus and clarity. It elevates your consciousness, aligns the mind, body, and the spirit. So once again, this is a symbol that is not giving forth a actual sound, yet it still brings forth a frequency, right? That can what? Bring forth a connectiveness within the body and the brain by simply gazing softly at the patterns. Find every circle, look at every intertwining loop, embed it within your DNA so that when you see the symbol, it instantaneously brings forth the remembrance of what is true. It aligns, once again, the mind, the body, and the soul. Ashe. What other symbol can I bring to the table for our clarity and our understanding? Real quick, let's go here. Let's go to Metryon's cube. Metryon's cube. Is it showing up there, y'all? There we go. Okay. Same concept, same purpose. Once again, architectural coding. These contexts of this particular energy, or should I say not energy, but this particular symbol is bringing forth a blueprint, once again, within our DNA. Gigi, come here. Y'all excuse me for just a second. I need you to close it up for a little while I finish doing this, okay? Okay. Just a little while longer, okay? Okay. Thank you. So we're talking about Metryon's cube, what it does, the realistics, the complex of this geometry engages in spatial reasoning, attaching, focusing the brain to track multiple of connections at one time. This particular symbol is a mental expression or stimulation as to why when you're gazing at it, you actually feel a certain stimulation that usually takes place right in the center of your forehead, the third eye. Follow the lines visually from one point to the next point. When you're doing this, once again, I love to add candles to my rituals. However, whatever you decide to do is fine. Some people would take this particular symbol and actually take it and draw it out on a mirror. Stand in front of the mirror and just, once again, follow the patterns, right? Follow the actual symbol. Visualize every point to every point and watch how your body feels afterwards. Once again, this is why it's so important that we always are journaling as well, because when we're journaling, we're bringing forth visual points, okay? Visual points within the DNA. Again, another symbol, as I stated before, that is not actually moving or bringing forth a sound, but its vibration is so high in frequency that in staring and gazing into it, you actually begin to have activation. Okay. This particular, once again, symbol is and its patterns helps with a lot of attention. It helps with protection. It helps with grounding. It can also create feelings of mental expansion, once again, within stimulation. How do you stimulate it? By simply looking into it, gazing into it, and allowing the symbols to actually connect with the DNA will bring forth wonderful transformations. Do you hear what I'm saying? You will be able to feel just how powerful these symbols are, because once again, you're bringing a certain remembrance back to the DNA of activation. And once again, this activation is a process in which people are interpret as the perception of this symbol brings forth a higher order processing of what people interpret as activation. So don't think that the symbol, you can just look at the symbol one time and automatically you're going to receive superpowers. No, that's not how it works. You're going to actually look at these symbols. You're going to follow each symbol and you're going to encrypt it into the DNA. When it encrypts into the DNA, now you have perception that is pushing the brain to go further. That's pushing the DNA to remember. So daily practicing of these symbols and looking in these symbols, practicing these symbols, wearing these symbols, bring forth activation and visual points that work out perception systems within the actual pathways of your body. Okay, relax your mind and allow geometry to expand your awareness. A lot of times, like I said, we feel stuck. These are keys. Some people call them tools of activation. When you're participating in the actual sacred geometry connection, you are connecting with your ancestral DNA, with your ancient Kemetic science of existence. And so now you start to remember things. All of a sudden, you're having more vivid dreams. You're realizing that you actually astral project. You're able to quantum leap. You have these symbols that are already encoded within the DNA because, once again, as I repeat, your body is made of what? 81% of water, right? Come back. Let me come back to the screen for a little bit so y'all can see me. Let me come back to the screen. Can you see me in the little corner now? I don't want y'all to think that I'm just showing y'all slides and that's it. This is an actual podcast session. This is actually a teaching session for SacredKeyz University. And if you are not a part of SacredKeyz University, I strongly encourage you to come and find out more about SacredKeyz4U University, as we are growing daily and expanding tremendously. Coming back to our subject and our lesson, I'm learning how to navigate this, so bear with me, please. Okay. Now let's go to our Sir Yantra. This is a symbol that a lot of people are not familiar with. I don't believe they actually know this particular symbol and what it does. This symbol over here, when I say if you need to protect your home, if you are looking to actually tap in to some real spiritual work, this particular symbol here is that symbol that you want to have as a part of your every process of growth, because this particular symbol, these particular triangles send an activation of concentric geometry, okay? Concentric geometry, which draws the eyes inward, okay? When I say this, I love the Sir Yantra symbol because it engages in helping you focus. You have a hard time sitting still. You have a hard time actually being able to. I'm trying to upload it, y'all, so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Hold on. Coming up. It's coming up. Give me 1 second. Don't worry. Every time we do this, I get better and better. So just bear with me. All right. Let's see if I can pull it up for y'all so you can know exactly what I'm talking about when I say it. Because when I say it, I want you to feel it. You hear what I'm saying? I want you to know that you have tools that can help you get through. Okay. Here we go. The Sir Yantra symbol. Okay, this particular symbol really brings forth like a real challenge. You hear me? It brings forth a a challenge of how true are you to your growth in your process. When you're dealing with the yantra symbol, something happens. When I say something happens, something really unlocks within you when you stare into this symbol. This symbol has a tendency to draw you in, where now you're looking from an opposite perception of your reality, if that makes sense. Okay. Starting from the outer layers and move your gaze towards the center point slowly. Let your eyes soften, your breath deepen, let your mind become still. And you're going to start realizing that, oh, shoot, something is happening. This particular image begins to start to move if you start to stare into it long enough. Why? Because your brain, once again, is recognizing the patterns. Your ancient science is coming back to surface. The brain begins to gain attention and begins to emotionally shift, right? Your nervous system changes in state. How does it change? Instant calmness. Instant calmness. You stare at these, you start from the outer and work your way into the center, identifying every triangle, every sacred geometry shape in here. You will start to see the patterns of life move in this particular symbol, right? And to some people, it's like, oh no, that's scary. Like, I'm not finna do that. What you don't realize is that, one, you have to eliminate fear when you start coming to awareness of knowing that there's nothing to fear. Okay, get out your own way and allow yourself to breathe in deep and become still. And guess what? The body will become focused, and the intent of what you're desiring to receive, it's like a door begins to open up. Sometimes, like I say, if you're staring into that candle and you're looking at this symbol and you're staring into that candle and you softly gazing and you starting to see this symbol starts to come to life right before your eyes. Because why? It's not really coming to life on a physical level, it's coming to life within the DNA, and the eyes are showing you just what's happening within the DNA. Now you're starting to see that the nervous system is starting to change its state and becoming more alert and focused. Where your focus goes, energy what flows? Your energy flows. Transformation begins to happen. You are transforming your reality. Okay. These sacred geometry symbols are very vital as we continuously grow, as you continuously claim to be who you say you are, who you claim your divinity, your truth, your happiness, your abundance, your focus, your healing is connected to that which you feed yourself. We talked about last Wednesday, the substances that you feed yourself, right? This is what you are helping align yourself so that you may ascend into a more spiritual being, a more, not so much as a dictatorship of a being or a puppet of a being, but your actual existence of self and awareness of self. We begin to realize and see the symbolization, which I'm going to take us back to the very first symbol that we started off with, which was dealing with the ankh versus the cross, right? We're starting to see where the division of where our chaos began to manifest itself in reality of what we call earth, because once again, symbols do send off vibrations and clarity to the DNA and acceptance of direction, right? So if you are a blessed being, then you are always sacrificing something. You're always giving up something. You're always operating in logic. You always feel dominant. You always feel like you have to be able to be atoned for something. Something has to be atoned for. There has to be a logical reasoning for everything, right? But when you're operating in the feminine, you find that the life force brings forth a union between both masculine and feminine, not talking about the flesh, not talking about you being a man and I'm being a woman. We're talking about the energy of what we project and what we understand as transformation. Right? These symbols are very vital on every realm because, once again, from balance to sacred union equals eternal life. What are you feeding yourself? We're going back to last week's lesson. What are you feeding yourself when it comes down to your knowing and understanding of what it is that you reclaim as truth in your existence? Symbols have power and they manifest themselves through your knowledge and your understanding. And you being in a place where you are reclaiming yourself, you're loving yourself, you're understanding yourself now, you have to get to a place where you decide what is going to stimulate your DNA, what is going to activate your existence. Who are you doing this for? Why is it important that you learn this? Because you are being constantly, repeatedly, Gigi, you are repeatedly being fed by your environment. You are repeatedly being programmed through symbols. You can't figure out how you know certain things. You just know it because the universe loves you. Your ancestors loved you so much that they left keys, clues, tools to help you align, to activate yourself. You just have to set the right intention because, once again, attention goes, energy goes where intention flows. Energy goes where intention flows. And this is a prime example of today's lesson in dealing with symbols of life and how they have been downloaded into your existence as to why you think, respond the way you do. You're rather always analytically trying to find logical understandings for spiritual concepts. Ushering in the feminine energy is to be able to come back to a balance of self and remembering who self is. Balance within yourself. Practicing daily. Aligning your life to line up with the lifestyle in which you will be walking forth for generations to come will model after your what? Substance of what you're feeding your reality here and now. So as we get ready to close out, because it's that time, I thank you all for showing up today. Please share, like, and review this. Get a notebook and a piece of paper. Go back and, like I said, I left the slides up long enough for you to be able to screenshot them, get a pencil and paper, write them down, and understand that these things work. They are activational tools that if you practice, you become consistent, just like you have to be consistent in writing your name. You have to be consistent in learning how to memorize, right? Program, download things within your DNA. You have to reprogram yourself, and in reprogramming, sacred geometry is nothing more than a key that unlocks the kingdom. You are the key. You are the kingdom. This is SacredKeyz4U Universal Podcast. We are connected to SacredKeyz4U University. If you are looking to go further into your educational process and your spiritual transformation and enter into sacred realms that they told you were impossible, come and join SacredKeyz4U University. Open enrollment is all year round, and you are welcome to come and learn more on how these things, these tools are already with you, within you, been for you. You just have to claim it, practice it, demand it, and it shall be. The key is in your hands. What you going to do with it? You are the key. You are the kingdom. I love you. Have a wonderful day. Peace, love, and abundance to you all. This is Egbekemi Oshunlewa, and I will see you next Wednesday.